Hey, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Lonely Podcast Weekly Recommendations, where I recommend the podcast, movie, and book of the week. Let's start. The podcast of the week. Out of the Blue Corner, a deep thinker, a secular liberal with followers from all over the world and almost 1 million subscribers on YouTube, representing the sane liberal branch of what used to be the prominent voice in the Democratic Party. I give you Destiny. Now, out of the Red Corner, an Orthodox Jew, a fast talker, and a person who seemed to know everything about everything. The co-founder of one of the most prominent conservatives media outlets, the Daily Wire. A public speaker with a reputation of destroying every leftist standing in his way, with millions of followers and listeners from all over the world. I give you Ben Shapiro. That's right. Destiny and Ben Shapiro had a debate on the Lex Fridman podcast, and it was phenomenal. If you want to listen to a high-level intellectual debate between two bona fide intellectuals from both sides of the political spectrum, you should listen to this debate. To me, it looked like those two are twins that were separated at birth. They're extremely similar in the way they speak, the way they approach ideas, and the way they express themselves. Throughout the debate, they were talking about very different topics, from the 2024 election, Biden v. Trump, January 6, Israel and Palestine, liberalism v. conservatism, and much, much more. Surprisingly, it looks like those two actually agree way more than they disagree. And if I had to determine who won this debate, I would say that overall, on most topics, it was Shapiro that was the dominant voice. He really provided really clear arguments and backed them all with facts. And to me, he was way more convincing, except for one topic, which is Donald Trump. And I think that Destiny did an excellent job by actually expressing the main concern that he has with Trump. At the end of the day, it appears that Destiny was pushing Shapiro to say the following. He basically had to say that he's voting for Trump, not because he doesn't think that Trump, if given the opportunity, is going to actually go ahead and become authoritarian, but simply because he thinks that he cannot do that, giving the power of the institutions standing in Trump's way. But outside of this specific issue, I think that Shapiro really won this debate overwhelmingly. You really want to check this out. Destiny v. Shapiro on the Lex Fridman podcast. Movies of the week. John Wick, the franchise. Yes, I know what you're thinking. John Wick is not the type of movie or movies that would provide you with the adequate intellectual stimuli to go about your day. Stimuli. I like it. But it's a really, really cool franchise. These movies have everything you want to have in an action movie. They have rifles, pistols, sword fights, many sword fights. Actually, unnecessary sword fights, but sword fights nonetheless. They have bulletproof suits that apparently, if you simply do this and someone is shooting at you from 3 inches, don't worry, you're going to be just fine. But most importantly, they have the most important ingredient to make every mediocre action movie into a phenomenal one. And that is the one, the only, Mr. Keanu Reeves. This guy is an absolute legend with Wolverine-type powers, apparently. He can fall off a 5-story window, hit his head on his way down, and simply dust off. Not a big deal. He can get hit by a car on multiple occasions. And once again, no biggie. But overall, this is a super cool franchise. This whole mysterious underground world of The Table that has this mercenary spread around in every corner of the planet that can go and execute random people when asked. And apparently the people around them are not very bothered by these executions that usually happen in very crowded places. And lastly, please explain to me how come you created the most badass motherfucker on the planet and decided to name him Wick. I know this is not a great joke, but whatever. Anyway, John Wick, the franchise, you will love it. Just give it a shot. No pun intended. The book of the week is The Royal Game by Stefan Zweig. Stefan Zweig is a Jewish Austrian author who fled Austria after the Nazis gained control. After moving around from Austria to London to New York and Brazil, Zweig, alongside his wife, was found dead in 1942 in his house in Brazil. And he left a suicide note saying that this life on the road without any permanent location was too hard for him to bear, and therefore he took his own life. So the book tells a story about two chess players who meet on a boat on their way from Europe to the New World. On one hand, you have this world-renowned chess champion that is beating everyone in his way. On the other hand, you have this underdog who used to be a prisoner and was able to memorize literally every chess move there is from a book that he only had access to while in prison. The reason I like this book is it shows the true mentality of a champion, how to identify the weaknesses and strength of your opponent and take advantage of them. It is absolutely brilliant, and it's super short, by the way. So if you want to have a quick read of a book that is very insightful, I really recommend The Royal Game by Stefan Zweig. Thank you all for listening. If you liked that video, please subscribe, and I hope to see you next week.